Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this evening. We are just waiting for some more folks to join. We'll start in about a minute here. All right. I'm still seeing steady flow of people in, so we'll give it another couple seconds. All right. I think we should be good to go there. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this Rain Ready Ottawa webinar on how to do a DIY stormwater assessment. My name is Steph. I work for Enviro Center and help support the city with the Rain Ready Ottawa program. And I'm here with my colleague Stefan, also from Enviro Center, same name, same organization, effectively. And we're going to be Stefan is going to be giving the bulk of the presentation tonight, and I'm going to be assisting with some questions and some behind the scenes stuff. So just before we begin, this is being recorded. The recording will be available in the coming weeks. You can ask your questions in either language, French or English. The presentation will be in English. But we will, yeah, try to answer it in French if that's your preferred language. Um, there are going to be, we'll share emails if you have any further questions after this presentation. There are a couple different ways that you can reach us. So we'll share those in the presentation and I'll also put them in the chat box. And then if you have any questions that you'd like to ask throughout the presentation, you can either ask them in the Q&A or in the chat function. And both of those can be found on the bottom bar um, of your screen. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Stefan to present. Thank
Perfect. Thank,
you.
thank you so much. I will also note we will have the slides in translated as well in French. So if you need to reference back or anything, they'll be available in English and French as well. But yes, why we're all here today. This is the Rain Ready Ottawa DIY Stormwater Assessment workshop or webinar. We'll just be going through all the different steps, from the first to the very end of doing assessment, stormwater assessment on your home. So, a quick land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land where we live, gather, and work is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. Since time immemorial, the Algonquin peoples have lived here, and we're proud and grateful to call it our home. And we endeavor to work respectfully with the land and its people. And it really ties into what we're doing here. A lot of people are making changes on their property to move water away from their home or have it absorbed somewhere, but a lot of people don't know all that water that's going down your driveway is going off the driveway into those sewers with the fish on it, and that is the fish is supposed to tell us that that water is going into a creek near you and then to the river untreated. So the more water we can have absorbed into ground on our property, the better. It helps clean it, helps replenish the water table, and it has a lot of other great bonuses. So what is Rain Ready Ottawa? Just a quick background. Rain Ready Ottawa is a City of Ottawa program that encourages and supports residents to take action on their property to reduce the harmful impacts of rainwater runoff. A few terms that you may see, just in case, just so we have everyone kind of on the same starting ground here. Stormwater runoff, or if you hear me talk about stormwater, it's precipitation like rain or melting snow that runs off surfaces like roofs, roads, instead of soaking into the ground. But basically, what we're talking about is rainwater that falls either on your roof or your driveway or something like that. The other you'll hear quite a bit. It's a lot of words. Directly connected impervious areas, or DCIAs. It's a portion of impervious surface like roof or driveway in an urban area that directly drain into a stormwater sewer system. So when I use that in the context of this program or this workshop, what I mean is basically space on your property that can't absorb water. So your driveway would be a DCIA. Your roof is made up of several DCIAs. Um, if you have any kind of paved patio, that would be a DCIA. So just an area where water can't absorb and it's going to run off and end up somewhere else. In this Rain Ready Ottawa webinar, you learn how to track where your stormwater is flowing on your property. Then we'll determine all the DCIAs on your property and their sizes, and then plan what measures to install on your property. So I'll give you a little more context about what are the different options that are available to you. And a little bit more about Rain Ready Ottawa and what it offers. There are some great there's a lot of information on projects for your home, including a series of self-guided e-learning courses, which are available on the City of Ottawa website. And they guide you everything from just general stormwater management on your property and what the program is all about. If you want to know more about rain gardens, there's one on that. There's one on soakaway pits, and then one on downspout redirections. And you can learn quite a bit about everything to do with those. And the other offering for the program is rebates up to $5,000 to help you install practices that help manage rainwater where it falls. So depending on the area of town you're in, you can have up to $5,000 in rebates for doing some of these improvements to your home. Like I said, downspout redirections, rain garden installations, soakaway pits, permeable pavement installation, or certified landscape designs. You can see all the different rebate amounts. So those are up to, and there can be a combination of those, but they can't exceed $5,000. Perfect. Just a quick note, before you begin any of your projects, the rebates are not retroactive if you're specifically here for to see, you know, what rebates are available. You must submit an online application and have your project approved before starting construction. That being said, if you have like done some initial steps or kind of barely started, or you just want to double check, you can reach out to us. We'll provide you with an email at the end and just send some pictures. And there's no harm in asking. And sometimes, you haven't quite crossed that threshold yet, and you can still qualify for rebates. So if you're unsure, just reach out and we can let you know for sure. All right. So for the home assessment or property assessment, there are three kind of main steps, and we'll go further into them. The first one is just an initial inspection. And then once you've kind of gathered some information on, where the water is flowing on your property, we would calculate all the DCIA information, so your driveway, the different portions of your roof, and then you'd be choosing what elements to install for each of those DCIAs. Or you can pick and choose, if there's one specifically that's has more of a need to be dealt with, you can look at that one specifically. You can do all of them. You can do one. It's completely up to you. Um, I know this is not the most glamorous picture of me. I think for the next one, we'll get a spiffed up picture. But first step, the initial inspection. So some of these things can seem like maybe a lot to take on, but they're actually really simple when you really break it down. As you can see here, I'm walking around home with a notepad. I've actually drawn on there like an aerial view of the home, and basically start moving around the property. That's the first bullet there. Just walk around your property. We're going to find all the permeable and impermeable spaces. Going to kind of draw on our piece of paper, taking some notes maybe. Next, we're going to determine where our home does and doesn't have eaves troughs. You may already know this, but you'd be surprised how many people don't really pay attention to that until it's something they want to deal with. So just make quick notes where your downspouts are, where there aren't any, if that's the case. Find each one of your downspouts and see how far they're coming out from your property, if they're directed, towards your home or towards a driveway, impermeable area. Just take some notes down and then follow the flow of your water. So you see the water is falling on this portion of the roof, and just follow it to the eaves trough, and then follow the eaves trough to the downspout, just to get an idea of, when the water is falling on this portion of your roof or on this driveway, where that water is kind of ending up. And then another thing we want to look out for is just evidence of erosion or pooling. For erosion, you'll usually see this at the end of your downspouts, but you can see it, sometimes in grassy areas. You'll probably know this too, just from living in your home for a while. I'm sure you see certain areas that, you know, carry water for longer than you'd like, or, there's areas that are kind of starting to get eroded by rainwater. A few things to keep in mind while we're walking around and looking at each, hardscaped area is where the water is directed. So just make a quick note, for each downspout that's coming down or each roof portion, is the water directed toward your home? Is it directed towards a permeable area like a garden or your lawn? Or is it going directly off the property? And this will kind of give us an idea of what options are available to us, or maybe what issues exist that we're looking to kind of change. Just a quick note about towards your home. Um, Usually that means if the downspout is outflowing less than 2 meters from your home, I would consider some of that water is probably kind of directed towards your home. So when downspout is outflowing into dirt, where it hits the ground, it will start to absorb into the ground, but it spreads kind of in every direction. It doesn't necessarily follow the flow of water. So some of that water will kind of end up coming back towards your home. So just something to keep in mind. That 2 meter mark is kind of like the sweet spot. So just to quickly go over permeable, impermeable spaces. Permeable, your lawn, grass, for the most part, is very, very permeable. Soil, dirt, any garden kind of area you have. Crushed stone, which are kind of like larger crushed rocks, or river rock, same thing. They're kind of rounded, same but kind of rounded. Permeable driveway, it's right in the name, it's permeable. And I would assume anyone who has a permeable driveway probably knows that, but if you're unsure, you can send us an email. We take some pictures. We can take a look for you. Impermeable, asphalt, concrete. Your roof, if your roof is permeable, I mean, you have a whole other issue that we got to look at first. Brick pathways. I will note it is possible to have permeable interlocking. Um, but unless it's been installed as impermeable interlocking, most brick pathways are just going to be impermeable. And same thing with gravel. Gravel is permeable. Um, like if you have it in your backyard or something along those lines, it's going to be very permeable. But people with gravel driveways will know after years and years of being compressed and compacted, it does eventually become less and less permeable. So just something to keep in mind. Most people probably won't run into that, but good to know. Okay, perfect. So now that we're walking around our homes, the next thing we're going to be looking at are our eaves troughs. We're just taking basic notes here, nothing too complicated. And we're going to look up at our eaves troughs, and we're going to note the locations. Like I said earlier, what sides of our homes have eaves troughs, what don't have eaves troughs. The next thing we're going to want to look at are the angle of the eaves trough. So you can usually see if you look up, your eaves troughs is going to be angled slightly one way or the other, and that just allows the water to flow towards the associated downspout. Um, Usually on, for example, this home here, it's pretty obvious that everything from this roof pitch is going to be flowing towards that downspout. Where it gets kind of that can give you more hints is when it's a second side or a corner is connected. It can kind of give you a hint as to which sides are flowing which directions. And then condition, that's just something you want to keep in mind if you see it's completely packed, it's completely, no water's flowing through, or if it's been disconnected or damaged in any way. obviously the water is not going to flow very effectively, or it's going to overflow, or it's going to leak out the side maybe of the where it's connected to the downspout. Um, yeah, so that's a few things to keep in mind there. The next thing is a part of the same system, but the downspout location. So we've, in our initial walkabout, we found our downspouts. That's the location. Um, we're going to look for condition. So again, if these are completely dented and no water is flowing through, or if it's blocked in any way, we want to look into that before we kind of continue any further, because that's going to cause some issues. And then we want to note the where it's outflowing to. So in this picture, you can see it's outflowing, first of all, very close to your foundation, which is just never a good idea. You want to get it, like I said, that 2 meters is a good sweet spot for outflowing towards your away from your foundation. And angle. So you want to make sure it's angled, uh, at least has a slight slope for the entire portion of it. So if at any point it angles up, the water is not going to flow there anymore. I'm sure we know that, but uh, I've been on plenty of assessments where that's the case. So um, just take note of anything like that. And another actual like little bonus hint here is, especially with eaves troughs and your downspouts, the best time to kind of check them out and see how they're working is when it's raining. So grab your umbrella and head outside when there's some rain coming down. That's often when you're going to see, my eaves trough looks like it's maybe blocked a little bit. You'll see water overflowing over the top, which can cause other issues as well. So just maintaining clean eaves troughs and downspouts are a good starting point. And then we're going to follow the water. So I mentioned this before. Now we know, roughly where all of our downspouts are, which side of our roof has eaves troughs. We can now literally see. I think you can see my mouse here. So all the water here that's flowing onto the driveway. We know it again if we've come out here when it's raining, or even just by looking at the angle of the driveway, you can see the water is flowing down the driveway off the property into the drain here. For this roof section here, we can see, or we'd be able to tell that, every drop of water that's falling from the peak here to the left is flowing down into this eaves trough, into this downspout, and either in this case it's going into a rain garden. Great, you're already set. That's going to absorb a lot of that water, or all of that water, and help it absorb. But if it's going, let's say, outflowing next to your down or your foundation, that's something to note. It's flowing basically all of the water from this whole half of the roof is going to be flowing right next to your foundation. Not a good thing. Um, where does it lead? And any barriers or blockages. Again, if there's anything, it's great to have this downspout flowing out into your lawn. But if it's running right into something that's blocking it and diverting it somewhere else, it's maybe something to look at. Maybe you could redirect that downspout. All right. So the last thing we're looking for on our kind of walk around our home here is erosion or pooling. This is mostly just to give us kind of more context as to, where our water's ending up, what it may be, where it may be going. So we're looking for grass discoloration, bare spots, which this is kind of both, lingering wet spots. So if you notice, even a day after it's rained, you just see like this pool of water somewhere on your lawn, that can let that area of the lawn isn't absorbing the water enough. So you may have to alter it in some way. Muddy areas or even cracks in hard surfaces like your driveway, or any kind of surface that's running has that storm water running over it. Here you can actually see a splash pad, which is great to avoid these things, but if it's not extended out towards it, then it isn't doing a lot of help. But these type of things can help extend your downspout, and also cut down on kind of erosion and things like that. All right. Perfect. So this is basically how to split up your home in different DCIAs. Like I said, the driveway is a pretty easy one. It's the whole driveway. So it's going to be the whole section of the driveway up to your property line. Um, so that would be, let's say we were kind of going through our home and trying to decipher all the different areas we're looking at. Number one would just be driveway. That's DCIA 1. If we're looking at this section here with the bricks, um, if that was just a brick pathway that was not installed as like a permeable option, then that would be a DCIA as well. If it is put in, installed to be permeable, it would not be because water is flowing through it and able to absorb under the ground. Where a lot of people may get kind of tripped up is when you're trying to divide your roof. So if you don't have just a peaked roof where it's very easy, it's just split half and half. This half goes to this downspout, this half goes to this downspout. Sometimes it can get a little more uh, intricate. Um, but there's a few things to keep in mind. So first of all, we know where all our downspouts are. Our eaves troughs, we've tried to look at the angle of it again, tried to get some clues from that. And then just your natural roof ridges are just natural divisions. So for this example here, we have one in the, I'll just consider this north here. We have one in the southwest corner and one in the northeast corner. So we've walked around our home. We've seen that this eaves trough is angled this way, and this one's angled this way. And for this one, they're angled both towards this. So we know it's just an even split between these peaks of the roofs. Um, they can get a little more intricate, obviously, but that's really the basics. You're following, what gravity is going to do once it hits that roof. So this is an example. So if you are looking at applying for the rebates, you do have to make a sketch of a proposed design. This is an example. It literally can be a sketch on, some grid paper where you draw the lines of your roof and number them that way. It doesn't have to be a work of art, as you can plainly see. This is actually in the applicant's guide from the city. So this is a completely acceptable version. It doesn't have to be like a CAD drawing or any kind of special scientific drawings or anything. And as you can see here, it's just split into, they've split the roof into where it's flowing to. They've demarcated where the downspouts are with some purple balls and the where it's going to be extended out. And this seems to be a rain garden. For area 2 here, the north and east roofs did the same thing, and they're putting in a soakaway pit here. For roof 3, the south roof, it's flowing to the southwest corner here and just extending out into their driveway. I'm actually going to show you how you may choose to do this. So Google Maps is like an amazing tool for this, for many other things, but I actually use it to find out the areas of certain DCIAs and even to plan them out. So this is one option you could look at. Again, you can do it on a piece of paper, um, but the main thing, we're going to use the Embassy of Burkina Faso as an example, just because it's a nice, easy example here. Um, so the main thing that you may need to use if you're looking to apply for the rebates is you need to know the sizes of these DCIAs, which can be kind of tricky to estimate how big a portion of your roof is. But I'll show you a really quick and easy way to figure these out. So I'm going to, for example, just let's say we've walked around our home and we know one downspout is right here in the front lawn area, and these two halves are flowing into that one downspout. What I would do here is just right click wherever you want to start the calculation here. So any corner of your DCIA. And at the very bottom here, you're going to see measure distance. You're going to left click, and then you just click each corner of your roof area, So it can be a little tricky with trees, but you can usually see the edges and get pretty close, and you know your home pretty well, so you can probably estimate it a lot better than I can estimate the roof size of an embassy. Um, but as you can see, I've just connected the whole area here, and you can move them slightly if it's a little off. And at the bottom of the page here, you can see total area. So 65.81 meters. That gives you the actual whole area of the roof, which is super handy. I've used these for all the assessments I did for Rain Ready Ottawa. And it gives you, it's not going to be exactly perfect, but it's going to give you a pretty accurate reading of how large that roof space is. And that's important when you're looking at, installing a rain garden to make sure it's large enough to accept all the water flowing from that area. And it will be um, one of the questions on your application if you're looking to put in a rain garden or something like that. So that's one great reason to use Google Maps is like a very simple way of finding those DCIA sizes. If you do want to make the sketch design using your computer rather than drawing, on graph paper, there is a very handy tool that I have to find here called the snipping tool. We'll actually put the link to downloading. It's a free tool. I used it for every one of the assessments because it's so handy. And if you click new here, it'll make your screen dark here. And you just basically highlight the area you want, and that's going to save that picture for you. Super handy. Instead of having to fiddle with your computer, it's just, drag a square around your home, and it actually connects right to uh, Paint, which is a great program to actually make a sketch of a proposed design. So I am going to quickly just divide these in. So let's say, like we decided earlier, this whole kind of northeast roof is one DCIA. I'm going to use there's a whole bunch of different shapes and stuff here. I find the little line works great. And you can just literally outline, roughly outline again, doesn't have to be perfect to the centimeter. It's just giving us an idea of how your roof is split up and how you're going to be dividing it up. Let's choose a different color here. You can tell I've done quite a few of these. It doesn't take me very long, but it is pretty easy to use. And there's another example that I think a lot of you are going to run into where, let's say you do have your upper roof here and you have like a garage here. Let's say this whole garage area is split into two here. So it's peaked just like this, and half the water is flowing this way, half the water is flowing that way, but you have a downspout from the upper roof leading on to that. I see that quite a bit. What you can do is just connect. So all the water from here is flowing down that downspout onto this roof. That makes these two one DCIA. Since they're directly connected, there's no, disconnect from there. All the water from that top roof is flowing onto this roof. They would be the same DCIA. And, oh, changed colors too quickly there. And then this other little roof half here would just be its own. So that's an easy way. Well, if you're looking for a way to do it on your computer, I find that's pretty much the easiest way instead of having to mess with screen grabs and all those type of things. Even if you'd like, you can even click the text box here and pick fonts or anything you'd like. I'm gonna choose the background fill just to get some white background, and you can number them right here so you don't have to fiddle with them. And what that does is when you're applying, you'd be referencing these areas. So let's say you wanted to put a rain garden in your front lawn here. So this whole roof, the downspouts right here, and you want to extend it out to this area and put in a rain garden. in the application, you can just say, area one, my north and east roof. Um, I plan on extending the downspout into my front lawn, and I'm going to get a little arty here with a circle, um, and put in a rain garden. And that's pretty much what we need to know. It's not any more than that. It's if you demarcate it with something, just showing area one flowing out into my front lawn and absorbing into a rain garden. And for area two, my south and west top roof and north portion of my, we'll say this is a garage, is, maybe you're going to decide to bury the downspout and flow into a soakaway pit. That's totally a good way to demarcate it. It's just kind of showing roughly what you're planning on doing. And that's pretty much it. It's you can just use Google Maps if you want to just find the areas and you just want to draw it with some pencil crayons and take a picture of it. Totally fine. Or if you want to use something like this, or if you have your own programs you like to work in, this is one that I found that worked for me. But basically, you're just trying to get the idea across of what your how your roof is split and how you plan on redirecting that water. Perfect. Save. No, that's okay. It wasn't that good. Perfect. I think mine looked better than that. I'm biased though. Um, perfect. So we've done our initial walk around, gathered all as much information as we can. We've looked at our DCIA or our home. We've split it into different DCIAs, and now we're ready to kind of choose if we want to do something, what elements we want to go with. So there's so many things you can do to kind of better handle stormwater on your property. We're going to focus on a few of them: rain gardens, soakaway pits, permeable pavement, and downspout redirection. All have rebates tied to them. Rain barrels don't, but I figured I'd put it in as a good option. A lot of people often ask about rain barrels or interested in rain barrels. So we'll go through some of the what make them their own thing and why you may consider choosing those over some of the other ones. So a rain garden, it's installed at the outflow of a downspout. It temporarily holds water. It can absorb a large amount of water. So in those huge rainfalls, it basically just holds onto that water temporarily and allows it to absorb into the ground. It's mostly above ground, which some people like. They like to see, where the rain is going, where it's ending up. There's nothing below ground except for, you know, changing the soil and things like that. And it contains native plants. So these are great if you have any kind of pooling or trouble absorbing the water on your property. These can make a more efficient use of the space. So it can absorb way more water than just a lawn can. And like I said, it does hold onto that water temporarily to let it absorb over a couple of days span. Um, and we do actually have a workshop, or I keep calling it a workshop, a webinar in 2 weeks from now, August 14th, which Stephanie will be putting on. And she'll go through everything from planning how to plan to put in a rain garden to actually carrying it out, installing them, what you need to know about your soil, all these different things. Yeah, it's going to be very informative for sure. Um, and the other thing, so rain gardens are great for people if you like gardening. It is great. There's beautiful plants that you can put in a rain garden. Um, but also, if you like flowers, but you're not a big gardener, that's okay too. Um, a rain garden is made with native plants, which are very used to our ecosystem. So you can choose ones that are very water tolerant. So if there's a huge rainfall, that's okay. They can handle it. They can absorb that water. But if there's like a drought for a little while, they can kind of survive. They're a little more survivable as well. So if you're not a big gardener, it's not necessarily it doesn't mean you can't have a rain garden. They're pretty self-sustaining once they're installed and you know, they take off. Another option, soakaway pit. You'll notice they do a lot of the same things as a rain garden does, with some small differences. So also, they're installed at the outflow of a downspout. They temporarily hold water. They can absorb a large amount of water. Sounds very familiar. The differences are the downspouts for soakaway pits are buried, so they are underground, as you can see in this diagram here. Uh, and the soakaway pit is fully installed underground, so you won't see anything except an overflow valve, which is just there in case there's a ridiculous amount of water that comes down at once. If it does overflow for any reason, it's just going to overflow into the grass above. And the area can still be used for other activities. So once this is complete, this one here, it's going to look a lot like the lawn on the other side. So why may you choose a soakaway pit instead of a rain garden? Um, I mean, some people don't like flowers. It surprises me, but those people are out there. So, and to each their own. If you really don't want to have like a flowery rain garden or something along those lines, and you do just want the lawn, maybe you want that space for kids to play. If it's kind of an important route to another portion of your property, like around your backyard, it's the only way to get around, and you don't have the space to have a rain garden in there. Soakaway pit's a great option. You can just put it under there. You barely see it, but it's doing all the magic underground. I've uh, like I've mentioned, I've done quite a few assessments through the Rain Ready Ottawa program, and recently we did a Jane's walk where we were able to go to some of the homes of the the assessments I've done. And one person, they were kind of unable to figure out how to deal with all the water especially in their backyard. And they needed that space. They had a pool. They had needed that space for their kids and for entertaining, things like that. So I was able to visit them, and I had suggested doing some soakaway pits, and they were very interested in that idea. And like I said, I visited them just earlier this summer, and he had taken those suggestions, and you can see they redirected the downspouts from all their roofs, put them underground here. And there's some more pictures here. Same thing with even their shed and their pagoda, I think they're called, went right underground. Their back roof as well went underground into quite large soakaway pits. And he was very happy with it. Hasn't had any, everything's just absorbed underground, kind of set it and forget it. And it's worked very well for him. He's able to use that space like he needed to. So I was happy to see that he took the recommendations and it's working out really well for him. Perfect. Next one is permeable pavement. So for the purposes of this program, anyways, they are to replace a current impermeable space, so like an asphalt driveway. Um, they greatly increase the permeable space on your property, and they come in many types. So I mentioned earlier, gravel, as it is compressed, becomes impermeable. There are driveway options where they're structural plastic. You can see they have space in between, and they're filled with gravel. And it just it prevents the gravel from being compacted to the point of becoming impermeable. Pervious asphalt. So like this one here, it looks a lot like asphalt, but they're installed by a certified professional who make them permeable. So this one here, I believe, is a crushed granite version, but there are lots of different options available. If you want to know more, you can go to the City of Ottawa website. It has lots of options and people to reach out to if you are interested. And then, like I said earlier, permeable interlocking concrete pavers. Not all bricks and interlocking are permeable, but there are options out there that retain, permeability of the ground while still looking a lot like just regular kind of permeable interlocking options. The one thing I'll mention is permeable pavements are great for everyone, but where it really shines is for people who don't have a lot of permeable space on their property. So you have, your property, you have your home on it, and very little grassy area for water to absorb, and you're really having trouble figuring out where to put the water, permeable pavements are like a great option. It's the only option out of all of the elements we're talking about today that just turns a impermeable space into a permeable space. So if that's the kind of thing you're running into, this is a really great option to help you out on that side. All right, downspout redirections. So you may wonder, what does that entail? There are a few different reasons why you may want to consider a downspout redirection. So it can move rainwater from an impermeable space to a permeable space. Um, so a lot of examples I've seen over the years, you have a downspout coming down right onto your driveway, and it's flowing off the property. And it's because there's no real option, there's no permeable space near. You can't extend it across your driveway, obviously. That would be cutting off most of your driveway, or you can't, cross it over the other side of your property. There's no permeable space there. You can consider redirecting the downspout. So um, let's say you have space at the far end of your home, you could redirect that eaves to bring that water to your backyard and then flow out into your backyard area. So that's an option that helps quite a few people that run into that issue. Another option would be if you can redirect rainwater away from your foundation. So, for example, here, this is just on a concrete slab, but let's say this is your home and you have your basement and your downspouts just ending up right next to your foundation. Like we mentioned earlier, it's not the best option. You can basically just extend that downspout. So it's just extending it. It can be something like this, where you actually have a new downspout portion where you add a longer extension. It can also just be an extender. You can buy extenders like a lot of different Home Depot or wherever, and they're just literally extensions that you put onto your downspout to help it get a little bit further. You can have these things called splash pads. We saw them earlier. They're like little concrete, or even if you have like a large rock, where it helps the water flow a little further down your property. You can see here we do have like a few rocks. It's not really extending it further out, but we have some river rock just to help with erosion, things like that. Perfect. And the other option reason you may consider a downspout redirection is there's some sort of obstacle in the way. You're trying to get the water past this obstacle. A lot of times it's like a pathway, let's say to your front door, and you have this downspout coming down, and you can't put it across the pathway because it's a tripping hazard, and you're not sure really where to put the water. So one example, again, on that Jane's Walk we did, I was lucky enough to come back to someone I did an assessment for, maybe I think it was 2 years before, and she had this downspout coming right next to her foundation, but it's right near a path that they use quite often. So she didn't want to extend it out, and she wanted to put a rain garden in. Had these grand plans, but didn't quite know how to work it out. So I'd suggested, have you ever thought of an arbor? Which is basically just extending the downspout above. This isn't what I had imagined, but whatever works for you. It seems to be working really well for her. So she was able to maintain this pathway to her, which they use all the time, apparently. And instead of this downspout coming in blocking this whole area, she extended it out and put it right into her large garden area, which she was looking to get more water anyway. So it's kind of a win-win. This isn't, like I said, what I was picturing, but if it works for you, I always picture like a kind of doorway with like lattice around it, like vines growing up. I don't know why, but you can make it look however you'd like and style it the way you'd like. But it is a great option again for when you have that obstacle in the way, you're not really sure how to get around it. Great option. Now, again, rain barrel. I decided to put this in just because get asked about it quite a bit. Um, Again, installed at the end of a downspout. There are some you can put out without them, but 99.9% will be at a downspout. Holds water for the use usually in gardening. You can chain them together to have multiple if you need more capacity. And you can see here there's an overflow hose. So if it does fill up a little too much, it would flow out, and then you'd have a hose here that leads away from your home. So it's very important to have. Um, but for rain barrels specifically, I think if you're considering these, I would make sure that you have lots of things to water. So if you don't have like a large garden that you need watering, rain barrel, there's just better options out there for you because people don't realize how fast these fill up. It can be 15 minutes of like a heavy rainstorm if your roof is big enough and it's just filled like that. So if you're not going to use the water on a very regular basis, I would consider just extending the downspout out or adding in a rain garden or something along those lines. But great options for those avid gardeners out there. Perfect. So, just a quick checklist. Again, we did our initial inspection. We looked for impermeable and permeable spaces. We looked for where eaves troughs are or aren't, where all our downspouts are, and then we followed that water from where it hits each roof to the eaves troughs to the downspouts, or even our driveway. We're looking at which way it's angled, where the water is ending up. We looked for evidence of erosion and pooling, especially at downspouts, but even just anywhere. And then we took that information, and it helped us kind of find all of the different DCIAs. So the one people are probably going to have the most questions about are how is my roof split, especially if you have an older home that has like more intricate roof roof splits. But by really looking at those details, like the slants of the eaves and the natural roof corners, you can you can find your way there. Um, and then again, learning how to calculate the DCIA sizes. Even if you don't use your computer to do the drawing, it is important just to be able to get a rough idea of how big those each DCIA is. Again, just to calculate, for example, a rain garden is going to be 10 to 20% of that DCIA size, which we'll go into a little more uh, next week or 2 weeks from now, Thursday, August 14th at 7 p.m. Again, my coworker Stephanie will be going over that, and she's made tons of rain gardens and is an absolute pro. I show up sometimes, but just to lift things and dig holes. So um, that will be really awesome. And then we actually have one 2 weeks after that, August 27th. We're having an expert come in to talk about permeable pavement options. And I know a little bit about permeable pavement, but she knows tons about it and can answer all your questions. And we'll go into detail about different options and best use cases and things like that. Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always great to see people coming out to learn more about stormwater management and just kind of interested in how to take those next steps. If you run into any issues in the assessment, or if you're looking to apply for those applications process, or have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. The rain at ottawa.ca is amazing if you're having problems, especially for the application process. So that's our contact, Connor at the city, and he knows inside and out if you're curious about if you should apply, if you're too far, or if you have any questions about that, reach out to him there. Or you can reach out to Stephanie and I at greencity at envirocenter.ca if any questions about the self-assessment process, or if you're unsure about the next steps, or if you just want to talk rain gardens, we're always available.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I think we had
Yeah,
one question that came up about rain gardens that I answered. I'm happy to answer it
you're
again. Just
you're better to answer
Yeah,
that question
but
for
just
sure.
asking what a rain garden is. So a rain garden is
Yeah.
essentially it's a garden that is bowl shaped, so it's got a bit of a depression in the middle. And you take it and you add some compost or some sand or some other elements that will make it more permeable than just the existing soil. So let's say you have really heavy clay soil that not a lot of water is going to run through. That would be something that could be helped by adding compost. And then you plant native plants that are both drought tolerant and flood tolerant. So it makes it pretty low maintenance, which is really lovely. And it absorbs about 30% more water than just regular turf grass. So if you're interested in learning more about that, yeah, come see the webinar in 2 weeks. If anyone else has any questions that they'd like to ask, feel free to pop that in the chat. Uh, and we're happy to answer them, or you can just follow up in the next few weeks by email.
Yeah, we're always available. Like I said, we're we're kind of we nerd out about this stuff sometimes, so don't feel shy of reaching out for any question at all.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think with that, we will wrap up a few minutes early, and thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining. Enjoy the rest of your evening, folks. Take
Thanks so
care.
much. Take care.